some more money out of us. But all in all, I'm excited for this fight card, and I think it's been a pretty damn good year for MMA and the UFC in general.
I feel like we're going to be about 6 months into this Paramount relationship, and then magically the traditional pay-per-view is going to return.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. But, of course, we got 14 fights coming up here tomorrow inside the T-Mobile Arena there in Las Vegas. Of course, the weigh-ins have already been completed, and 2 fighters did miss weight. Bruno Ferreira weighing in at 189 pounds, so he misses weight by 3 pounds for his middleweight matchup against Marvin Vettori. That will move forward as a catch-weight bout. Bruno has been fined 20% of his purse, so the fight will go forward. Also, Santos misses weight for the opening fight of the night, weighing in at 147.5 pounds for that featherweight matchup against Muhammad Naimov. That fight will move forward now as a catchweight bout, with Santos being fined 20% of his purse. But P, I want to get right into game theories. We, look at the DraftKings lines, the FanDuel lines here. The thing that sticks out to me is, look, you got to look at the main event, and this is where, when I was putting my spreadsheet together, I was like, damn, if this was back in the day when FanDuel gave you points for stopping takedowns, Jan would be a great play over on FanDuel. Even at the big price point of $9,500, it's going to be hard for me to get away from Merab, because you just know the takedowns are going to come. In their first matchup, he attempted 49 takedown attempts. He got 11 of them in that matchup. But there are some other fights on this card that either I go, all right, I really love it for DFS, don't really love it for DFS, don't know if I can trust the fighters, like just kind of going down the card. Moreno and Tatsuro as a 3-round fight. This is the first 3-round fight for Brand Moreno since 2020. The last 3-round fight for Tatsuro was 4 fights ago. That always kind of concerns me about, guys coming from a 5-round fight to a 3-round fight. That concerns me a little bit as well. The Cejudo Talbott matchup, my notes is pretty simple on this one. There's a clear path for Henry Cejudo. Will he take the clear path? That's a question mark I have there. I kind of feel like Blachowicz, Guskov may be kind of that GPP fight that you have to target this week. Grant Dawson, Manuel Torres. We're going to find out, can Manuel Torres stop a takedown, because it's coming from Grant Dawson. McKinney Duncan is probably going to be the fight that you gotta roster, just because of I truly do believe we're going to see Duncan McKinney try to get on the back of Duncan. The word you're hearing from American Top Team is that has been what Duncan's camp has been all about, is stopping McKinney from getting on his back. Sadykhov at 7,900, I kind of like, just because of the price point there. I don't know if I trust a Jalen Turner at 9,300. Baraniewski making his UFC debut. I think that's going to be someone that people stick there well. And Santos, before missing weight, where he trains. It was intriguing to me. Missing weight, that's a little concern.
Yeah, I think in general the card is interesting, because you have a main event that wasn't all that close the first time that they fought. I was a guy that doubted Merab Dvalishvili forever, right? Like, you remember me. I was always criticizing because I found openings and I saw openings, and I wasn't a believer in his striking, and he was a relentless cardio machine, and he still is. But people weren't capitalizing on the mistakes that he was making because of the pace that he was pushing. So I've been a Jan backer in the past, but I have to tell you, that first fight was not close. And then the co-main event, we have Pantoja facing an up-and-comer in Joshua Van, and it definitely is a big step, a big step up for Joshua Van. If he could possibly pull this off, you're talking about a rapid ascension up the division, like historical. So it would be an unbelievable upset, much bigger than what I think the odds are saying. I view him much more than a plus 200 underdog because of what Pantoja has done throughout his legacy. One of the most dominant flyweight champs we've had. Tatsuro Taira is that is a step up in competition against Brandon Moreno. You have the Payton Talbott Henry Cejudo fight, where Talbott got exposed on the mat against Raoni Barcelos, and can Cejudo replicate that game plan, or will he? You know what I mean? Don't like having that 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door. Blachowicz, guy that's been been sticking around in the UFC for longer than a lot of people thought. And despite his age, is definitely a tough out. Has fought good strength of schedule, but Guskov's very dangerous. So, I mean, I view this entire card where you're having it's old school matchmaking, right? Like you're having the vets or the people that have had established careers get tested with the younger crowd or the younger fighters, if you will. I mean, even Maycee Barber, right? Like she was supposed to fight Blanchfield, had that medical issue the night of the fight, was unable to perform or actually even walk out to the cage. We haven't seen her. But she's getting thrown in there against a young lioness in Karine Silva, who has definitely looked good. So all in all, this card is interesting and a lot better than I anticipated before I started to dive into the card.
One of the kind of the crazy things about this card is the opening fight of the pay-per-view will be at 205 pounds. After that, the final 4 fights on this pay-per-view will be either at 125 pounds or 135 pounds, which I just feel like we never see that from the UFC. And you're going to have fighters who potentially are fighting for their spot on the UFC roster. I mean, you look at someone like a Marvin Vettori with, kind of where he has been. He's lost 3 straight, 4 or 5, probably fighting for his UFC job here. Edson Barboza has been talking about that R word. We'll see. That's probably another guy maybe potentially fighting for it. Jalen Turner coming back after a very, very short-lived retirement. I don't even think the retirement lasted 6 months. You look at Ibo, another guy probably fighting for his job, taking on Baraniewski. Of course, we saw on the Contender Series what he did there. Tricoli, I think, is definitely fighting for his spot on the UFC roster. I mean, so there are some fighters throughout this card. Of course, Henry Cejudo. This is going to be, quote unquote, his final fight.
I'm
also,
so tired of these people throwing out that word. So annoying, Jason.
But one of the things to notice, his head coach, Santino from Fight Ready, it's the last time he's coaching. He has announced he's retiring after this card here. So a little bit change there going on at Fight Ready, which, of course, that's been a gym that Henry Cejudo has been it's basically Henry Cejudo's gym in terms of the ownership of that gym. But, Pete, of course, so you got your Patreon page. Of course, a link to the Patreon is in the description of the show. Let everyone know what they can expect to see at your Patreon page.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. So I have a pace rating associated for each fighter. I mean, that really looks at the attempted strikes, attempted takedowns, and put together into a rating to determine who is really pushing a pace compared to somebody who's a little bit more calculated. Just for reference, I mean, Merab's pace is a 13.74. He's like breaking my chart right now, whereas Petr Yan is a 5.62. So, and Petr Yan fights like he's patient, but when he goes, he throws with some good volume. But I mean, you can't really compete with attempting 30 takedowns in a UFC fight. So outside of that, I mean, it has some stats that can be very, very beneficial and helpful. I have strike ratio on there. I have strike differential on there. Attempted takedowns if it was a 15-minute fight. And then some data projections, career win percentage, salary odds. It's just a nice tool, strength of schedule to kind of like glance at whether you're hand building or you're betting. I mean, I am placing my bets throughout the night, and I will be looking at my sheet throughout the night as I am placing my bets, saying, oh, wow, what's the takedown props on this fighter? Okay, well, if I look at my sheet, it tells me in a 15-minute fight what the takedown numbers could be based on their takedowns landed per 15 minutes, their takedown accuracy in comparison to their opponent's takedown defense. So it's just a nice visual and a nice way to put the data into perspective.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if my book has put. Okay, so over at Hard Rock Bet, Merab Dvalishvili. Over under takedowns landed 7.5. The over is minus 140. The under is plus 105.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's nuts.
If this thing goes more than 15 minutes, I think he easily gets over that number. But that's going to be a little bit of the crazy number there. Of course, you can join our Discord channel. Link to that is in the description as well. Totally free to join over there. And you mentioned about those betting lines. There is, I will tell you, you want to know the line that really sticks out to me is the decision prop numbers on Barboza and Turner. Barboza plus 700. Turner plus 650. I haven't looked at what the over 2.5 rounds is, but that was one as I was kind of putting my sheet together here this morning. That was one. It's like, ooh, that one kind of feels pretty good to me. So that's, I think, going to be on my betting sheet here tomorrow. Of course, be sure to hit that thumbs up here on the video if you're watching us here on YouTube. Of course, the show is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. On Spotify, the video is there as well. But Pete, let's get right into breaking this one. Of course, the main event is a rematch from 2023. You got Merab Dvalishvili looking to make history here, looking to become the first UFC champion, make 4 title defenses in a calendar year. It's been done multiple times by fighters, 3 times, but never 4 times in his career. Of course, Merab, the big favorite here on DK. He's at $9,500, $22 on FanDuel, minus 425 betting favorite. Jan priced at $6,700 on DK, $12 on FanDuel, plus 325 on the betting lines. When you talk about that first matchup from 2023, 50-45 across the board for Merab in that matchup. He was 11 for 49 in takedown attempts, and when it called total strikes landed, 202 to 87. Pete, I guess really the question here has got to be is, what is the path for Jan to win this fight?
I think it's the path for everybody is to catch Merab Dvalishvili. I mean, hit him how Henry Cejudo, Marlon Moraes did, but you have to capitalize because Merab's cardio is really good, and he can not only can he survive, but he can recover pretty quickly. And not only if you're too patient or you don't find that kill shot, he's on you, and he's pretty smart inside the cage. He's chaining takedowns together. He's pressing you against the cage. He knows how to stay safe for the most part. I think he has some tendencies that can be exploited. I mean, he drops his hands after combinations. His head stays somewhat on the center line. I'm not a big believer in his striking, but his striking has developed to the point where you have to respect it. He's hit some people with some good shots, and as soon as you start to respect the hands, he's in on your hips. So Petr Yan has to have the greatest takedown defense, which he does have some phenomenal takedown defense, sitting at 85%. But he needs to do more within the rounds because just defending the entire time is not going to win you the round. He needs to, start elbowing Merab when he's trying to get in on his hips and chain together some takedowns. Make the impression last of damage on the judges, so that they start to possibly view the rounds as Jan rounds and not Merab just completely overwhelming his opponents per usual. So I don't agree with the odds. I have to tell you, I mean, this is a direct, like recency bias odds for how Dvalishvili has looked, but also how close the first fight was, which it wasn't really that close. And I mean, no 2 fights are the same, right? So I expect Jan to have some more competitive moments. If Jan knocks out Merab Dvalishvili, this could be the situation or the time where I should have picked Petr Yan. I think there's tremendous value on the underdog because I don't agree with how wide it is. I was thinking plus 200 for Petr Yan, no problem at all. Just because it is a 5-round fight, anything can happen, and it's not like Merab is a absolute finisher, right? I mean, like outside of Sean O'Malley, we haven't seen Merab Dvalishvili find finishes really at all. I mean, he did finish Marlon Moraes, and then he guillotine choked Sean O'Malley, but you can basically pencil Merab Dvalishvili in for the overs anytime that he fights. So the more dangerous fighter is clearly Petr Yan. That's how he can win this fight. That's how he can win moments, possibly win rounds. But I think the machine is just going to do a little too much. And personally, for me, the way I'm viewing this card is because I'm not like flag planting in love with a ton of underdogs. I see underdogs with paths to victory, but ones that I'm not super confident in because I know they have holes and I do respect their opponents. I don't mind stacking this fight, Jason, just because I know that Merab is an over decision type of guy. And I do think that Petr Yan will score better than 40 fantasy points like he did in the first fight. Merab Dvalishvili scored 167 with 11 takedowns, which is absurd. Even at 9,500, I mean, that's obviously paying off. And I didn't think that Petr Yan did all that great to score 40 in that 5-round bout. So, give me the stack to start, well, not to conclude the night, But for our show, that's how I'm going to start the show off with a stack. But I am picking Merab Dvalishvili to win like 3 rounds to 2, much closer than the first fight. All respect to Jan, but I think that Merab's on a little bit of a higher level at this point in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think if your thought process is to get away from Merab, you're just going to be fearful that he scores 130, 140 and upwards just because of takedown attempts, control attempts, and he just really controls this fight on the mat. You know, maybe you're hopeful if you don't roster him that maybe he goes out there and, you know, gets a finish, say in the third round. And we talk about this all the time. And these 5-round fights, the last thing we want is to see that third round finish, unless you're going on the betting side of this equation. You know, looking at the betting side of the equation, when it comes to Merab, obviously I'm not touching the betting line. I just think it's just way too high. If I were to touch anything, I might be looking at a sprinkle of that submission prop, which is 8-1. You know, just kind of as, maybe a quarter of a unit type play in terms of that one. But I more times than not, I just believe Merab's going to win by decision. I mean, you talk about it, 12 of his 14 UFC wins have come by decision. The only concern I would say I have is, and we've seen this happen in the history of this sport, where a fighter is as active as Merab, and at some point, the body kind of gives out a little bit here. That's my only concern. But yeah, I think Merab gets the job done here. But like you, in terms of roster construction, if you want to throw Petr Yan in there and you think, hey, he's going to get you 35, 40 points, I'm good in terms of that one. In terms of that,
I didn't know you were saying submission to start, so I started to nod because I heard, and I was like, possibly split decision based on if it's more competitive. And truthfully, like, we don't love betting those, but it is a 5-round fight, and it's 2 of the best fighters in the world. And you hear, whispers of neither one of these guys being completely healthy for their first encounter. So perhaps this is more competitive the way I think it's going to be. And just to kind of throw it out there, like, I like the decision props, obviously, but like, Merab via decision -225. That's kind of still stupid, right? Petr Yan to win via decision is plus 550. I wouldn't mind taking the plus plus 5.5 for Petr Yan if you think that he wins some rounds. That plus 5.5 is sitting at plus 120. But the way that I would kind of do this for some fun money would be like the split/majority decision, plus 750 for Merab, plus 1,400 for Petr Yan if he's able to make it a little bit more competitive.
Bring up this question here from Spencer saying, do you think the 4 weight cuts will catch up with him?
I would love to know what Merab walks around at. I mean, it's a great question, Spencer. I would love to know what Merab walks around at. I mean, it's not like – this is the way I'll put it, right? When you're a wrestler, you're cutting weight a tremendous amount of times throughout your season. So you're in pretty damn good shape, or you should be. You're not doing the Paddy Pimblett, blowing up in between fights. If Paddy Pimblett was fighting 4 times in 1 year, Jason, and not Merab, perhaps I would be worried about those weight cuts taking more of a toll out of him because he's going up and down and doing so much to his body. Where I do feel like Merab's in such good shape that, it's just one day of him really sitting in the sauna, and he's probably floating around, I'd probably say 150s, which isn't all that bad.
So I saw a clip earlier this morning where Daniel Cormier was talking about Merab and these weight cuts. And he said Merab is still old school. He is not doing weight cuts the way the trainers at the PI tell the fighters to cut weight. Like, he's literally Wednesday cutting everything out to make weight.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I've done it too. But I think it's like, obviously science is great, and having like the UFC PI, it would be foolish to not use that and use everything to help you gain an advantage. But fighters are funny, where it's like if it works for them, they are going to stick to that. Like, they're not going to wear this color underwear when they compete. Like, they're very, very like, based on rituals and like superstitious, if you will. That's the word I was kind of searching for.
Mm-hmm.
But if Merab's probably a little afraid to do anything different because he's never had any problems making weight.
Oh, yeah. I think we all have some type of superstitious, no matter what we do in our day-to-day life. Now, the co-main event will be a flyweight title fight as Pantoja defends the title against Joshua Van. Pantoja priced at $9,000 on DK, $21 on FanDuel, minus 250. Betting favorite for Van, priced at $7,200 on DK, $14 on FanDuel. He is plus 195. This will be the fifth title defense for Pantoja. By the way, his last two title defenses have ended via submission. Joshua Van, a really fast riser here in the UFC. He made his UFC debut in 2023, already 8-1 in the promotion. 6 of those 8 wins have come by decision. Of course, we know he is a volume machine, but Pete, this is one of those things I talked about yesterday on my podcast is, can Joshua Van stop the takedown? That is, I mean, if you're sitting there and you are a Joshua Van backer, whether we're talking about from a DFS or a betting perspective, you're just sitting there going, let me see if he can stop that first takedown.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that you're not dealing with a Merab where there's tons of takedowns, limited control, no submission threat, no finish threat. You're facing Alexandre Pantoja, who could knock you out on the feet, who could take you down, who has phenomenal control on the mat, and who will look to take your back and choke you out. So much more dangerous. And truthfully, Jason, when I'm looking at these odds, the way that, in my opinion, they should be, the main event odds and the co-main event odds should be flipped. I view Pantoja not as a minus 240 favorite against Joshua Van at plus 195. I think Pantoja should be minus 400 with Joshua Van at plus 320. I think that makes a little bit more sense for the rapid ascension of Joshua Van. Whereas, the Dvalishvili and Petr Yan should be minus 240 for Dvalishvili and plus 195 for Petr Yan. But I mean, if Joshua Van can do this and he can force Alexandre Pantoja to stand up and just trade boxing combinations with him, yeah, Joshua Van can win this fight. I mean, we've seen Pantoja slow down at times. We've seen Pantoja, kind of fight with his ego a little bit instead of his IQ. But I will tell you that American Top Team has kind of honed in the perfect style for Alexandre Pantoja. Threatening punches, good level changes, phenomenal takedowns, back control, ground and pound, submission. It's a wrap. I think the wrestling, Van can stuff some takedowns or get up, but it's the submission threat that makes this fight super, super dangerous. Truthfully, and tell me if you would be interested in this fight, I'm picking Alexandre Pantoja because he's given me no reason to pick against him. I've seen some fights in the past where I was a little on the fence, but he's really developed and turned into a very dominant fighter for this weight class. I feel like he's so much stronger than everybody. And his jiu-jitsu skills in combination with his wrestling and even his striking, he's a complete fighter. So I think that he beats Joshua Van here. My algorithm really loves the output of Joshua Van. I mean, he throws at such a significant clip, nearly doubling Alexandre Pantoja on the feet, 4.36 significant strikes landed per minute for Alexandre Pantoja, whereas Joshua Van is at 8.86 significant strikes landed per minute. If you go to the attempted, it's about 8 strikes per minute for Pantoja and 15 attempted per minute for Joshua Van. But I don't think this is going to be a boxing or kickboxing fight. I think it's going to be that for moments, and then Pantoja has enough of it, and he chains a takedown or two together and puts Joshua Van in some compromising positions. And at least that's what he should do, Jason. And then after this fight, what does Pantoja do? I would love to see Pantoja versus Merab. I would love to see that. I think that is a phenomenal fight. And yes, if Pantoja's been struggling with weight, or if this is a legacy fight, Pantoja versus Merab would be a phenomenal one that I would be extremely intrigued to see who would be favored or how that fight would go.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about Pantoja, I think him and Merab are starting to kind of get in a very similar situation in their divisions where, they've beaten everybody at the top of that division. That's why, especially if, we'll talk about next up, Tatsuro, if he can get a win, then I think maybe it makes a lot of sense here. But I love the volume of Joshua Van, but it is the question mark of, can he stop a takedown? And, we talked about live betting. This is one of those situations where if Van can get off to a good start, we may get a better number on Pantoja betting him live after one round. That's something
Yeah,
I'm kind of thinking about.
yeah, I would be still nervous though because, like, I mean, typically Pantoja's cardio has faded in the past, and I wouldn't love to see him struggling with takedowns early. Like that, because now I know that he's probably going to be forced to stand up a little bit more than usual. But let's not forget, Joshua Van was knocked out against Charles Johnson. So
Mm-hmm.
Pantoja's capable of doing the same thing. He's got dynamite in his hands. But yeah, I'm going to go Pantoja. I love the main event and co-main event. I don't see how I get away from, both of these. And I don't even know if I can fade one of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at for my book, the takedown prop on Pantoja, 3.5 over minus 135, under plus 105. I mean, yeah, I look at Pantoja. It's not a great number, but the sub prop at plus 160. In that case, I'd probably just take the inside the distance at plus 110 just to give myself a safe just in case if he did go out there and knock out. But yeah, I do like Pantoja, and it's because of that wrestling abilities. Then we got Brandon Moreno taking on Taira. Of course, Brandon Moreno, the underdog in this one. Price is 7,700 DK, $14 on FanDuel, plus 100 on the betting lines. Taira, price at 8,500 DK, $15 on FanDuel, minus 125. As I mentioned earlier on in the show, this is the first scheduled 3-round fight for Brandon Moreno since 2020, which was that first round win against Brandon Royval. He's gone the decision in his previous 4 fights for Taira, kind of in a similar situation with Moreno. His last 3 fights were scheduled for 5 rounds. And, the talking point I have on this one, Pete, is this is a second opportunity for Taira to prove that he is the top of this division. But also, to me, striker versus grappler here, and the 3-round aspect of this fight is why I really don't love for DFS.
Yeah, I agree. I don't love it for DFS, and I will tell you, I think the odds are because it's a 3-round fight. If you look back and you watch Brandon Moreno fights, he's a guy that kind of is a builder. Like, he gets stronger as the fight gets going or as the fight goes on. Early on, I can see Moreno kind of taking his time, getting some reads, feinting, faking, and next thing you know, minutes are expiring, and you could have possibly lost a round while you were just getting your reads. If this is a 5-round fight, I think that the odds are flipped in favoring Brandon Moreno a little bit more because of his experience, because rounds 3, 4, 5. But I mean, I think that Tatsuro Taira can box well enough to make Brandon Moreno be defensive. I think that he can possibly hurt Brandon Moreno, and he could take Brandon Moreno down. I mean, Moreno's got good wrestling and grappling in his own right, and I think that he can, challenge Tatsuro Taira in those departments. But clearly, Taira's game is built around his grappling. I think round 1 should be Taira, and that's the problem with a lot of 5-round fighters or a lot of former champs going into 3-round fights. It's an adjustment. You should have more cardio, or you should be able to push a higher pace, if you will. But it is a pacing problem. It is not a cardio issue. It's just kind of like, oh shoot, man, I just lost that round. Now, when you're going up against a guy in Tatsuro Taira who has pretty damn good control too, it's not like you're facing a guy who's, not really holding on to you or attempting submissions where Brandon Moreno could get back up. This is a tricky fight. I don't like it for DFS like at all. But I am going to be picking the favorite here in Tatsuro Taira just because of those questions I said surrounding the 5-round nature. So 8,500, I'm going to go Taira, but I have Tatsuro Taira scoring like 75. You know what I mean? Like nothing crazy. And that's based on, median projections. So it's not like it's a low projection, but he's not a boom player, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just from a DFS aspect, we just don't love it. It's because of what that fantasy score upside could be on either side. I mean, if I was going to roster one or the other, I think I still would probably roster Moreno just because of the striking aspect. But who says that Taira just doesn't take him down at will there. Next up, we move up to the bantamweight division. It is the former champion Henry Cejudo in his quote-unquote retirement fight as he takes on the young guy Payton Talbott. Classic UFC matchmaking here, Pete. Young guy, the vet that's been around. Cejudo is the underdog here. Price $7,000 on DK, $11 on FanDuel. A plus 220 betting underdog. Talbott price at $9,200 DK, $19 on FanDuel. He is minus 275. Of course, this is the first time we'll see Henry Cejudo since that issue earlier this year against Song Yudong with the eye pokes there. Payton Talbott, 6-inch reach advantage. He's 11 years younger, but it is a massive step up in competition for him. And, really my two thoughts is this today. Classic UFC matchup, but is this too fast for Talbott, especially after we saw what Barcelos was able to do? And then the other part of this, Pete, the path is there for Henry Cejudo. Will he lace up the wrestling shoes, because we really haven't seen him do it in a while?
He'll take Payton Talbott down, but I don't think he's going to take him down enough to get a victory here over Payton Talbott. I just don't, because it's not really like what he enjoys doing anymore. Like he'll wrestle enough, he'll strike enough, he'll do his stupid little stance with his long extended lead hand and trying to look like Machida-esque, and throws his nice cross. And he does have some good hands, and he does land and hurt his opponents. But like Cejudo, to me, is not tailoring his game around his strength so much. I just don't understand, especially in a 3-round fight. Dude, wrestle. You can wrestle for 15 minutes or at least for 10. You know what I mean? Where you could bank 2 rounds and survive the third. The problem here is this is old school matchmaking, and I think it's a missed opportunity for Sean O'Malley, truthfully. I think Sean O'Malley should be fighting Henry Cejudo. I think that was the name to kind of catapult or get Sean O'Malley back into the win column or back into the good graces, because, losing back-to-back fights to, Merab Dvalishvili, it's like, okay, now what? I think he should have fought Cejudo. He's got the Triple C moniker. He's got all the history, the Olympic gold medalist. Like, it would have been a nice feather in the cap, but they haven't moved on from Sean O'Malley. I just think they have a new fighter similar to the ascension of Sean O'Malley and Payton Talbott. You had Raoni Barcelos expose some weaknesses within Payton Talbott's game. Raoni Barcelos has good boxing, very, very underrated wrestling, and strong grappling. So he wasn't necessarily just taking him down. He was mixing all of his arts together. And that's where I just don't see Cejudo doing that. I see Cejudo trying to engage in some striking matches, some striking exchanges with Payton Talbott, looking to body lock him, looking to hit him with his inside trip per every fight. He will hit Payton Talbott with that trip, as he hits everybody with. But Payton Talbott has shown the ability to get back to his feet in his most recent fight against Felipe Lima. Felipe Lima in 2025, in my opinion, is a better version of Henry Cejudo. Doesn't have the accolades of being an Olympic champion, doesn't have the history of being a double champ. He doesn't have any of that, but he has the similar skill sets to how Henry Cejudo should be approaching this fight. And Payton Talbott showed big changes from the Barcelos fight to Lima. I still know and noticed that he was getting taken down. I still noticed that his timing of his grappling defense isn't still there, but his ability to get back to his feet is improving. So he's not just okay with being held down. He's a young kid, man. I mean, these guys nowadays are so young in the UFC. Credit to Payton Talbott. Opportunity of a lifetime. He's talking the talk on the mic, and he says, just like Old Yeller, all dogs, some old dogs got to be put down or something like that. And I honestly can see him finishing Henry Cejudo. Cejudo's going to make it interesting. But I think that Payton Talbott's size for the division, his volume, his aggressiveness, and just the variety, I really do think that, Father Time is undefeated, obviously. And I think Talbott could be one of the guys to actually pick up a finish over Henry Cejudo. I'm still going to say Cejudo is tough enough to survive, but I think he gets dropped. I think he gets split open, and I think it's an embarrassing last performance. But, I mean, if Cejudo goes out there with the entire game plan of, I can't strike with this kid, I am going to wrestle for 15 straight minutes, he can win the fight at 7,000. I just don't know based on his efficiency, based on everything. I mean, an Olympic champion has 31% takedown accuracy. I mean, and now he's going up against a very, very big fighter in Payton Talbott for the division. Only lands 1.84 takedowns per 15 minutes. Talbott's takedown defense has looked better, but still not great. He's going to land maybe 2 takedowns. But yeah, I'm going Payton Talbott here, Jason. And for DFS, I think he's intriguing. It's all based on does he get a finish or not. I'm going to say he doesn't. So I don't know if he pays off the price tag, because it's going to be like a Chuck Liddell sprawl and brawl type of fight. But Talbot's very interesting for the card.
I'm interested to see where he ends up in ownership, and I think that'll
Yeah.
kind of really play into how much do I want to get to him. You know, could he potentially be a leverage play in that 9,000 range? And I mean, look, more times than not, when a fighter says this is their last fight, it usually doesn't go well for them. Yeah. And I really do wonder if you had no microphones around, no cameras around, and you asked Henry, do you regret retiring in 2020? I gotta think. Yeah. I gotta think the answer is yes. I really do. I think back then he just misplayed his cards. I think he thought that magically the UFC was going to pay him a ton of money, and that just wasn't the case at that time. So,
I mean, he's still getting paid a lot of money, but I mean, sometimes they want FU money. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're making, I mean, you could renegotiate, but I don't know. They called your bluff, and now I think that he is. I think he's paying the price with some of these matchups.
No doubt about it. Their opening fight of the pay-per-view will be a light heavyweight matchup between Jan Blachowicz and Bogdan Guskov. Blachowicz is priced at $8,400 DK, $16 on FanDuel, minus 135 betting favored. Guskov, his price is $7,800 DK, $15 on FanDuel. He is a plus 110 betting underdog. Kind of, very similar UFC classic UFC matchmaking here, when you got the 42-year-old Blachowicz taking on the 33-year-old Guskov here. And one of the things that really kind of stuck out to me looking at Blachowicz, some of these wins have not really aged great for him in the UFC. 0-2-1 his last 3. His last win came in 2022 against Alexandre Rakic. Guskov lost his UFC debut, but it's won 4 fights in a row. All of his UFC fights have ended in the first or second round. And this is another one where I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a sneaky GPP fight on both sides of the equation. And I just wonder do I really want to back a 42-year-old against a 33-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Blachowicz, his entire career, I've been poking holes at, but I mean, he's proven me wrong time and time again. And one of my friends, he's Polish, so he's his favorite fighter. I mean, Jan Blachowicz is his favorite fighter, and he's been such a, he's been touting him for a long time. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And that's kind of my opinion towards Blachowicz, and credit to him. He just keeps showing up, and it resulted in a championship and some, crazy wins within his career. If I look at Blachowicz, though, you notice he won via, leg injury to Rakic. I still have an asterisk next to that. The split decision to Ankalaev, a split decision loss to Pereira, and the split decision to Ankalaev was a draw. And then he lost to Carlos Ulberg, which a lot of people weren't really sold on that decision. But, I mean, he just, outside of a left hook, he's not all that aggressive. I think I would like him more if he was really aggressive with his wrestling, because I think his grappling's, somewhat underrated. I just don't trust an older fighter to grapple, like, at a crazy pace. If Blachowicz was in his 30s, like, of course, I'd be picking him over Guskov here, but he's in his 40s, and I'm not one to really, hop on the whole age thing, but, like, I just don't see the pace of Blachowicz maintaining 15 minutes if he grapples immediately. I think it's a way for him to complement some tough rounds. Guskov is very dangerous, and is not going to give that type of staring contest fight that Blachowicz tends to seek. Like, if you go back, the Rakic can do that sometimes. Ankalaev can do that sometimes. Pereira, not so much, but Pereira is, he's still learning, right? He's still just a kickboxer. And Ulberg can kind of do that staring contest, slow pace, very methodical type of striking. So, I'm gonna go my first underdog here, and I'm going to go Bogdan Guskov. I just think the aggressiveness, the hands, the danger. I wouldn't be surprised to see him knock out Blachowicz, even though Blachowicz has shown very, very good durability to this point. I just think like at some point, right, that armor has a hole or has weakened to a point where a certain fighter with a certain type of game plan and style can look to exploit it. And I think that Guskov's just going to land the more damaging strikes and impress the judges. I worry about him getting taken down and in his debut and getting subbed, but like that was against Volkan Ozdemir, and Ozdemir has looked pretty damn good. I've had the same concern, for Guskov when he was facing Nikita Krylov. Didn't even get there. Ryan Spann didn't even get there. You know what I mean? So I think that Guskov is a very interesting fighter, and I'm going to be backing him here. I mean, like, I think that he can make Blachowicz question whether he wants to be in there at 40-something years old. And I think he'll show him the door, and he'll open that door. So give me Guskov via finish here at 7,800. I think it's going to be via TKO. But 7,800. He'll be my first underdog, and kind of crazy that I like all the favorites a part of the main card outside of Bogdan Guskov pulling off this upset.
And when you look at that TKO KO prop for Guskov plus 240, or you could just take the inside of distance at plus 190 if you want to play a little safe, just in case you're maybe worried that maybe he gets a submission that win there. Then our feature prelim matchup will be in the lightweight division. It's Grant Dawson taking on Manuel Torres. Dawson priced at 8,900 DK, $18 on FanDuel, minus 220 betting favorite. Torres price at 7,300 DK, $11 on FanDuel, plus 175. If you've listened to what Grant Dawson has talked about leading up to this matchup, I think he's making it very clear. He is looking to put Torres on his butt, put it on his back, and use his wrestling in terms of that. The one thing that the concern I have is, I mean, look, we're always going to remember that Bobby Green fight where, Green caught him, finished him in 33 seconds. But to me, it's the unknown for me of what does Torres do, because he's finally facing a legit wrestler in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Dawson's phenomenally skilled. Like, he's unbelievable. I'll forever be pissed about that Bobby Green fight because, Bobby Green's not really known for his finishes, and he finished Dawson and made it look easy, and that's where, like, Grant Dawson has such a hole and gap in his skills between his grappling and his striking. He's working on it, right? But like for me, I've been striking my whole life, so I can see when somebody is, putting in effort and trying, but they're having a hard time with it. It's hard to grasp high-level striking. But Dawson is a high-level grappler. So yes, Torres has grappled, and he comes from a grappling background. Not only that, he's got phenomenal striking and super dangerous, but he's the one that kind of ragdolled Chris Duncan and choked him out with a rear naked choke. And Chris Duncan's the better grappler, or should be. So Torres is just a mammoth of a human being. But we've seen Torres kind of fight emotionally in the past. Ignacio Bahamondes really humbled him to a point and showed him that you have to take your time in there, and you can't just blitz everybody and bully everybody, because you're going to run into a problem, and somebody's going to solve it. So I think that as far as the better camp, clearly it's ATT and Grant Dawson strategizing and coming up with a game plan, or just tailoring towards Grant's strengths. And, his grappling's improving. I mean, his striking's improving, but I worry about his chin. I mean, if Bobby Green dropped you and finished you, what the hell can Manuel Torres do? I mean, he's freaking massive for the division. This fight and the next fight, right? Yes, are my two hardest fights to pick, because like I want to pick Torres here, because I just don't trust Dawson's striking. But I don't know too many people that can deal with Grant Dawson's grappling when he gets on top, or he puts legs in, or he takes your back. I just don't know too many people that can handle that pressure, and just the relentless backpacking. And it may be boring, but the damn kid is skilled. So give me Grant Dawson here at 8,900. Tons of control time, tons of takedowns. But on the flip side, like, I have this projected really closely, because my data wants to pick Torres because of the massive discrepancy in the striking, as evidenced in the strike ratio of 1.87 for Torres and 1.5 for Grant Dawson. But I am going to go with the grappler here in Grant Dawson. I think he's going to find a way to pick up the win and start to take out some ranked opponents.
This is one of those fights where I go, you know what? More times than I just feel like Grant Dawson goes out there, just wrestles his way probably to a 15-minute decision. But then I also think about it as like, let's go back a couple weeks ago. You had a guy that we knew had the wrestling advantage, and Sean Brady, and what happens? He goes out there and gets starched. And that's why I wonder, could we see Dawson, and we've seen him get starched before, just a concern there. So, I mean, Torres to me was probably the pump play of this week, just because of he could go out there and get the finish in terms of that one. Next up, we'll continue in the lightweight division. It's Terrance McKinney taking on Chris Duncan. McKinney priced at $7,600 on DK, $12 on FanDuel, a plus 120 betting underdog when I did my sheet here this morning, but that line has been moving. Duncan priced at $8,600 on DK, $16 on FanDuel, a minus 150 betting favorite in terms of this one. Of course, we all know about Terrance McKinney, the fact that he's had 24 pro fights, 21 of them have ended in the first round. And really for me on this one is, can Duncan stay off the ground? Because and McKinney has been talking about it this week of, hey, I'm coming in to take this dude down. Whether you believe him or not, I tend to believe him here. But also, it's like, hey, if McKinney can't get the finish early, does he have the durability? Because we really just don't know, Pete.
Yeah, I will tell you that there aren't too many fighters better in round one than Terrance McKinney. I mean, he's got skills for days in all departments. He's a very long fighter. He's explosive. He has excellent power. His wrestling is great. His submission skills are sneaky, very, very well-rounded. The issue is his chin. He's been knocked out countless times within his career, and his cardio. So, this is how I would bet this. Round one, McKinney makes all the sense in the world. Rounds 2 or 3, Duncan makes all the sense in the world for me. You got to be careful going up against Chris Duncan. He's not a pushover. He's not an easy fight. Yes, I've been picking against Chris Duncan. I didn't know if I think Blachowicz was going to beat him. I thought Vucenic was going to beat him. I thought Rebecki was going to beat him. I've been wrong on all of those. I've also been wrong on a ton of Terrance McKinney fights. So this is the hardest fight for me to pick, and the odds are suggesting that too, where it's a very, very closely contested bout. I'm having a hard time, but if I look at their past 5, I think you can kind of see a level. McKinney's past 5: Breeden, Merab, Ribovic, Hadzovic, and Borshev. Duncan's past 5: Ashmuz, Torres, Oki, Vucenic, Rebecki. I think Chris Duncan's clearly fought the better competition. They're both 4-1 in their past 5, and this is a great, great piece of matchmaking. What happens here? I'm not all that sure. I know that Chris Duncan has a phenomenal guillotine, and one that I was actually teaching the other night at our academy because he learned it from Dustin Poirier, where it's a modified grip, and I've never seen it before. And I love choking people. Choking people is my favorite thing when it comes to grappling. And I have a whole system and a whole chain. I've never seen this type of guillotine before. So I was really impressed, and I was happy to teach it to our students. So Chris Duncan was talking about it on a podcast. I think that if McKinney goes in there and he shoots a takedown or a sloppy takedown, you could see the same exact thing that happened to Oki and Vucenic happen here against Terrance McKinney. So he's got to be careful. With all that being said, I mean, Chris Duncan was the fighter that was getting pieced up and has taken a ton of damage within his career. Borshev is the guy that knocked him out. Charlie Campbell is the guy that was beating the shit out of him on the Contender Series until Chris Duncan, retaliated and knocked him out. So Duncan has a knack for getting hurt and getting kind of the shit kicked out of him for a while. What happens here? Does the round expire and McKinney overexerted himself, and now Duncan's live for rounds 2 or 3? This is a live betting situation for me. God, when I look at the strike ratio, though, listen to this. This is interesting. The striking ratio where are we at? 2.24 for McKinney. That is the highest on the entire slate. That is a phenomenal strike ratio. Duncan's striking ratio is a 1.02. So that's one of the lowest on the entire card. So as long as it's standing, man, like McKinney is live to beat the shit out of Chris Duncan and maybe have his way anywhere he wants in round one. So Duncan got manhandled and taken down against Manuel Torres and got rear naked choked. So I can really see McKinney doing the same thing. What do I do, Jason? I haven't been this torn on a fight in a very long time. I'm going to go with Chris Duncan. I still am going to go Chris Duncan, slight lean. I think that the guillotine could be there. I don't like it if he gets his back taken, obviously. But this is a fight that in the Sims, I would probably force 50% ownership for both fighters. Like, I just view this fight as an optimal fight. I don't see how it's not. So give me slight lean Duncan, but do not mind people going with Terrance McKinney at all.
The price point is what gets me so enticed by Terrance McKinney. If you told me this was vice versa, that McKinney was 8,600 and Duncan was 7,600, I would not have as much interest in McKinney. Agreed. I mean, think about this. You bring up a great point about the level of competition between these two guys. McKinney's got all these first-round victories. You know what's not happened for McKinney in the UFC?
Decision.
He hasn't won a fight night bonus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's crazy too. So how does that even make any sense? I mean,
I mean, it kind of, but it is from a DFS aspect. What intrigues me a lot about McKinney is a takedown upside, first round upside, but you're spot on. I mean, if you're looking at betting this fight, if this fight makes it past 5 minutes, that's where you got to see where is that Duncan line. If you're saying that McKinney went out there and had a great opening round, but you know, when I'm talking about building probably a core lineup, McKinney's probably in that lineup.
I don't blame you. I think he's one of the best underdogs on this slate with the high, pound for pound, one of the highest upsides on the entire slate. Like, I mean, when he wins, the kid he wins in incredible fashion. So, at 7,600, I mean, he's going to be extremely popular.
Next up, we've got a female matchup in the flyweight division. It's Maycee Barber taking on Karine Silva. Barber priced at $8,700 DK, $17 on FanDuel. She's a minus 200 betting favorite. For Silva, priced at $7,500 DK, $12 on FanDuel. She is a plus 160 betting underdog. And, I think obviously the storyline in this one is the first fight since 2024 for Maycee Barber. She had the medical issues very quietly. She's won 6 in a row here. Silva on her side, 5-1. She's gone to the decision 3 times. But Pete, does the fact that she is a Fighting Nerds product make you want to take the underdog here?
No, I'll tell you no. I like Maycee Barber a lot. I mean, outside that situation in the past with Blanchfield, I'm really impressed with what Maycee Barber has done. And I'm pretty damn confident that she goes out there and she puts up a great performance. I mean, yes, they are both. I mean, Barber's 5-0 in her past 5. Karine Silva is 4-1 in her past 5. So I just view this fight where, like, yes, Karine Silva, she can have big moments. She'll attempt submissions and go to her back a little too much for my liking. And, like, if you throw it all the way back to Roxanne Modafferi, like, I didn't like in those situations and those grappling moments for Maycee Barber. But I think that she's improved significantly since that. That's a long time ago. Man, I hope that she's healthy because I don't really know. Only Maycee really knows what happened in that situation in the locker room. I mean, granted, what rumors of her or that she had a seizure and then all these medical issues, and she's had some surgeries in the past. And when I look at her, though, she looks to be in phenomenal shape. And I think she's kind of coming into her own. She's dangerous. She's aggressive. And she puts it on people the second she knows that she hurts them. I might manually up my Maycee Barber exposure. And that's not typically a thing that I would do for women's MMA fights. But I just don't know. I have a feeling that Maycee Barber could literally like beat her up on the feet, chase her to the mat. Karine Silva's attempting some leg locks, getting punched in the face a ton, on her back, just kind of throwing up submissions, and Barber's just kind of elbowing a hole in her face. So, I mean, typically the overs in women's MMA hit significantly. There's a situation or a route where Karine Silva could snatch up a guillotine, any sort of submission over Maycee Barber. And on the flip side, I think that Barber's hands, she may get hit with a big shot from Karine Silva, but I think the volume and just the aggressiveness combinations, I think that she could put together a hell of a performance, and a y'all must have forgot. And I hope I'm not like being a fanboy right now, but I think 8,700 sneaky. When I look at it, I'm like, okay, a lot of high priced options, but where in that mid range can I get different? I haven't looked at the ownership, but like I know what to expect. Normally, like Tatsuro Taira at 8,500, I would love it. It's a 3-round fight, and he's going up against a phenomenal former champion. Don't really like it that much. Blachowicz, 8,400. Don't like that because of all the situations I said. Dawson, 8,900. A little expensive. Chris Duncan, worried about that fight in general.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not all that worried about Maycee Barber at 8,700. My fear is obviously just a low score, but I think that it's kind of worth the risk. So I'm gonna pick Maycee Barber here at 8,700 to put a y'all must have forgot performance on.
And also, I think situation, we got to see where ownership is when the ownership projections do come out here. Next up, we'll move over to the lightweight division. You got Sadykhov taking on Faraz Ziam. Sadykhov price is 7,900 DK, $13 on FanDuel, plus 110 betting underdog. Ziam price at 8,300 DK, $16 on FanDuel. He's a minus 140 betting favorite. Sadykhov 4-0-1 in the UFC. 10 of his 11 wins have come via stoppage here. Faraz Ziam 7-2 in the UFC. 7 of his 9 UFC fights have gone the distance. The one thing I do like about Sadykhov is he does bring the volume on the feet, Pete.
He does, but I mean, Jason, for me personally, like Nazim Sadykhov is good. Like he throws great combinations. He's tough. He's got good kicks, good hands. He's a southpaw. He's usually the better striker in most fights. And he kind of stays in the pocket to receive his opponent's, shots as well, just so he can land some more. I don't know if ZM is going to give him the fight that he wants, though. Where like we saw Sadykhov get hurt and kind of go to war with Nicholas Mota. We've seen him have crazy fights with Bonfim with a nice little question mark kick that resulted in a cut that made Bonfim be unable to continue. Not really sure if I love that. I mean, yes, it's a win, but it's not a true knockout or a finish. Had that draw to Borshev. Don't like that. I mean, even though Borshev's, not good on the ground, I think that you can outclass him on the feet, hit him, hurt him, knock him out, get him out of there. And, you have grappling too. You could take him down to submit him if you want an easy fight. But I've seen Sadykhov somewhat fade as the fight goes on a little bit. And, the Terrance McKinney fight, good win. Evan Elder, believe that was a short notice opportunity. So it's not like a true, fight camp for Evan Elder. And I think that one resulted in a cut too or some weird shit, right? And when I look at Farazim, I see his strength of schedule. The past 5 is freaking good. Michal Figlak, Jai Herbert, Claudio Puelles, Matt Frivola, Mike Davis. Like those 5 I just said, like I don't think that they're in the same category at all. I think that Farazim, he will hit you with a jab, utilize long rangey strikes, frustrate you. The second you get pissed and try to come forward, he's changing levels and taking you down. So I think that he's in a nice little spot at 8,300, and I view Sadykhov as a little hittable. So for me, I'm not having a hard time with this fight. I mean, I like Sadykhov, but I think styles make fights, and I don't think that this is a favorable style for Sadykhov to pull off a victory. So I'm going to go Farazim here, 8,300. I mean, I don't know if I'm on like a different planet this week, but I like Maycee Barber and I like Farazim.
I'm going to be on the other side of this one. I'm going to take a shot on the
Okay.
underdog in terms of this one. Then we got the early prelims, will be featured by, which now will be a catchweight matchup of 189 pounds, as Bruno Ferreira missed weight earlier on today when it was like 30 minutes into the weigh-ins. He weighed in at 189. I go, yep, he ain't making weight. If you're 3 pounds over and you're weighing in the first 30 minutes of the allotted time, yeah, you ain't making weight. That's just.
I know some commissioners that probably wouldn't let you to do that. You know what I mean? They would probably say, "You got 2 more hours. Go cut weight." You know what I mean? And
I have
like,
no idea who you might be referring to. I have no clue who you
they
might
might
be.
take you out the room if you try doing that, weighing in first, purposely not making weight so you can rehydrate and reblow back up. I mean, this fight's weird, right?
That to me tells me that the decision was made when they hit
Yeah.
the scale. So for people who don't know, what happens is there's a scale behind the curtain that they're going on to first. And that's going to give them an idea, hey, was your scale calibrated wrong in your room? But yeah, when you miss, if, that's to me, a scenario of, guys, he's not going to make weight, so that's what's going to happen. So he'll be fined 20% of his purse here. Of course, Marvin Vettori is the slight betting favorite here. He's priced at $8,200 DK, $15 on FanDuel, minus 115. Bruno priced at $8,000 on DK, $15 on FanDuel. He is at minus 110. And, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Marvin Vettori may be fighting for his spot on the UFC roster in this situation. 9-7-1 in the UFC. 15 of his 17 UFC fights have gone the distance. He's lost three straight and 4 out of 5. Bruno on the other side, 5-2 in the UFC. All of his UFC fights have not seen the distance here. And with Marvin, I just kind of wonder, like, where are we? What is our mindset with Marvin at this stage in his career?
I'm done betting on Marvin Vettori. I am. And I just am, right? I mean, the guy's fought ranked opponents his entire career or the last 5 years. His strength of schedule is absurd of who he's fought, but he just doesn't look the same, and he just doesn't do shit. He just he doesn't go out there and fight the way that I would coach him or a good coach should. Do you not remember, Jason, when he came into the UFC in his early stages, how much he wrestled, how much he would literally lace up those wrestling boots and he'd strike a lot and then he'd take tons of people down and he would make it into a fight. He's a guy that's fallen in love with his hands. He doesn't bring his hands up to his face all that much. He's very reliant on his toughness and he gets hit. He's got a cinder block for a head and he gets hit a ton. And I've heard some other people talking about Kelvin Gastelum vibes where he's been hit so much that you expect him to get knocked out, but he doesn't. So why are we still thinking that he's going to get knocked out? I mean, one day the dam's going to break, right? You know what I mean? So I just don't know if Bruno Ferreira is the guy. I mean, Ferreira is the guy that did it to Gregory Rodriguez. He's got phenomenal power. Bruno Ferreira has got exceptional judo, good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu. The grappling should be somewhat nullified, but perhaps some tricky takedowns from Ferreira could happen. This should be a kickboxing matchup. And in 2025, I just don't like Vettori's chances of winning kickboxing matchups because he's hittable. He seems slower. He seems like he's stuck in the mud. I don't know, man. I just don't view him the same that I once did. So this fight for me is not a must-have. Vettori's toughness tends to stretch fights out longer, even if he's getting hit with good shots. And for whatever reason, some people are just kind of afraid to engage with Vettori because of maybe his stance or his pressure or his posture. But if Ferreira wants to, I really think that he could put pressure on Vettori and hurt him so much that he can convince the judges that he wins this fight or possibly drops and hurts Marvin Vettori. I mean, I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira. I just think that the volume could be there, the kicks, the variety, the possibility of going to the grappling. I just think in 2025, Ferreira's a better fighter than Marvin Vettori. Granted, Marvin Vettori was dealing with some personal issues the last time he was out there, and I was backing him, and I just watched that fight, and I go, buddy, I mean, it's not good to fight emotional at all, but I don't know. He just doesn't look the same. So it's been some time. And I think that Ferreira is going to pick up a very nice very nice victory. So give me Bruno Fajeda here at 8,000.
And the plus 425 for Bruno to win via decision kind of does stick
I
out a little bit to me,
don't
even
mind
though
that at all.
all of his fights UFC have been via stoppage. Maybe
I
something
like
a
that.
little sneaky out there in terms of that one, but also you do wonder about the misweight. Was it a strategic misweight? Was there a miscalculation? Is there an injury? There's a lot of speculation that's going to go in terms of that one. Probably also something we have to look out for tomorrow leading into lock of make sure there's nothing going on there with that. Then we have got the return of Jalen Turner for a man and just a classic example of why you never believe the R word in this sport. Literally, he fought in March, retired shortly after, and already back. We're not even the retirement didn't even last anywhere near
We
a
only
year.
have 3 fighters on this card that have done that: Brandon Moreno, Henry Cejudo, and Jalen Turner.
Correct. Yep. They have all done it. Yep. That's why you never believe the R word here. Edson Barboza's price is 6,900 DK, $9 on FanDuel, plus 250 betting underdog. Turner price at $9,300, $20 on FanDuel. He is a minus 325 betting favorite here. Things have not gone well for Jalen Turner here recently. He's lost back-to-back in 4 out of 5. Barboza, this will be his 32nd UFC fight. He's lost back-to-back, 2 and 4 in the last 6. And I do kind of wonder, does this fight just have a real strong possibility of just being a 15-minute kickboxing matchup? And maybe it's not a great DFS score, but could be a very good betting situation.
Yeah, I will tell you, right? Like, I just don't know where Jalen Turner's at. Like, there was a moment where he didn't want to do this anymore. He did not want to do this anymore. And he looked to explore things elsewhere and ultimately wound up back in the same spot. And I think matchups can also light a fire under your ass and kind of be like, I'd do that fight. And some fights just really interest you. And I think one in a kickboxer, in a very high profile stand up fight, kind of made Jalen Turner go, I would do that. And it would bring me out of retirement. And that's tempting. And it's because Turner can actually go out there and be himself. I mean, you're talking about a longtime sparring partner for Anderson Silva and Luke Rockhold. Jalen Turner is a big guy. I don't know how he makes the weight. Truthfully, I don't. I almost would recommend him fighting at 170 pounds, truthfully, for being 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. As he gets older, he's going to be a welterweight. I guarantee he's going to be a welterweight, and he is going to be a force because he's not going to have to cut too much weight to kill himself to get down there. So I think that Jalen Turner is in a great spot to go out there and be himself. Now, I don't want him to rush things because if he thinks that he's going to go out there and finish Barboza extremely quickly, let's look at what has happened to Barboza. Barboza has gone 15 minutes with Drakkar Close, 25 minutes with Lerone Murphy, despite Lerone kicking the shit out of him, like really bad. 5 rounds with Sadiq Youssef, knocked out Billy Quarantillo, 3 rounds with Bryce Mitchell, 3 rounds, almost full 3 with Giga Chikadze. So like you got to be careful going up there against against Edson Barboza and trying to just absolutely finish him because he's live to stretch the fight out. I do see this being a kickboxing fight. If anybody implements takedowns, Jalen Turner will be taking down Edson Barboza and submitting him. I'm telling you right now, there's no other way. Barboza's not taking down Jalen Turner and looking for takedowns. Turner's got long arms. He would look for a Darce or an Anaconda. That's what I would be drilling him if he was my student. But Turner's not going to have to worry about that. His left hand should be a problem for Barboza, and Barboza's defensive skills and his timing and his reflexes seems to be a shell of what it used to be. Now, the leg kicks, the chopping low kicks of Barboza, the body kicks, the stance switches could pose some problems. It's really all up to Jalen Turner in this fight, is he going to come out hot out the gate, fired up for this fight? Is he going to come out somewhat lethargic and have to build into it? Is he going to come out unmotivated? Does he want to be here? I mean, you just retired. I know Barboza's training at an America Top Team and like still in some of the greatest shape that we've seen, and like 6,900. I can see him winning a round. I could see him even possibly winning the fight if Turner comes out and does not go and fight and kind of is like in a staring contest. So I'd be careful putting Turner in parlays this week just because you don't know what his mind's like after retiring. But I do think that a left hand down the middle from the big southpaw of Jalen Turner should sit down Barboza, and then I can see some hammer fists, leading to the finish. So I'm going to say Turner does get a finish, but I don't mind the overs. I don't mind the distance calls, the decision props. But I think there's so many good options, right? Like I got 5 rounds of Pantoja, 5 rounds of Dvalishvili. The hell am I going to play Turner 9,300? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I would much prefer the 5-round title fights.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of that one there. A comment over on the YouTube says Turner, Torres, McKinney, Talbott all could get quick wins or gas by round 2.
Yeah, very true, buddy.
It is very true in terms of that one. But, it is Barboza's already started to mention that R word. We'll see what Turner there is, but it is a heavy price tag to pay for Turner there. Next up, we've got the UFC debut of Baraniewski, of course, taking on Ibo here. Baraniewski winning on the Contender Series earlier on this year, priced at $8,800 DK, $18 on FanDuel, minus 200 betting favorite. Ibo priced at $7,400 DK, $10 on FanDuel. He's a plus 155 betting underdog here. One of the things about Ibo here that really stuck out to me is this is a guy who made his pro debut in 2023. So a quick rise in the pro ranks to get to the UFC, but he had 20 amateur fights. So a lot of, getting working on the amateur scene. You look at Ibo, he's lost back-to-back fights, but he will have a 4-inch reach advantage, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, this fight's weird, right? Because I just don't know what to expect. You have a guy that's making his UFC debut in Iwo Baraniewski. You mentioned extensive amateur background. I love to see that. I mean, that's just a lot of fights. That's like, even if they're low level, even if they're people from the crowd, like that's a lot of MMA experience. So I love to see that. And especially he is pretty damn young, 27. To have that many fights is ridiculous. And then you have Ibo Aslan, who a lot of people have been down on him. And it's because of the question marks surrounding his ground game. And that was pretty damn evident in the past 2 fights, and the Billy Alicana fight, which didn't really, it was just a terrible performance and nothing even happened. But the Ion Cutelaba fight, that was like a draw your line in the sand and who are you going to back? The guy with the bad chin and Ion Cutelaba, or the guy with the questionable ground game and Ibo Aslan? And Cutelaba took him down and made it look easy. I mean, big gaps in skill on the mat. And that's kind of what I can see here. I think that Baraniewski can compete with Aslan on the feet, as evidenced in the Contender Series fight. I think that he can land a shot. He can avoid some of the power from Aslan. And I think that Baraniewski's, his overall MMA experience, we can see him get a takedown or two. My worry here is just the UFC debut, the octagon jitters. 8,800 is a little pricey for a debut. I think that he's good. I think that I will be picking Baraniewski, but personally, I just want to wait and see approach. If I'm playing a 150 max, of course, I'll play both sides of this, but I would be favoring Baraniewski to get it done because I think he has the grappling skills to do so. But straight up pick, I'll pick Baraniewski, but I'll probably just sit this one out and see what Baraniewski brings to the table for future UFC fights.
You know what my feeling is when guys making their debut off Dana White's Contender Series? I want to see him do it in the UFC. It's sometimes the Contender Series is not necessarily the best metric to find out where kind of a fighter stays. So, but I mean, look, I understand why he's a favorite in this one, but I kind of want to see what he's able to do. Next up, we got Mansour Abdul-Malik taking on Antonio Tricoli. Tricoli priced at $6,400 DK, $7 on FanDuel, plus 800 betting underdog. Abdul-Malik priced at $9,800 DK, $23 on FanDuel. He is a minus 1,300 betting favorite. He is unbeaten in the UFC. His last fight against Cody Brundage was actually overturned in that matchup due to how that finished out there. I mean, flat out, he is a finisher. That's who he is. Tricoli 0-2 in the UFC. First fight in 13 months, but man, if you want to roster Merab and or Pantoja, how do you put a 9,800 fighter in your lineup?
Yeah, you're gonna have to go some dumpster diving, right? You're gonna have to maybe look at like a Cejudo or a Torres or maybe even a Barboza, something at the bottom end, because 9,800. I think that Abdul-Malik makes it. All the betting odds make all the sense in the world. His inside the distance odds, everything. I mean, I just don't see Tricoli having an answer for him anywhere. I mean, Abdul-Malik is really good. I think that the striking is powerful. The wrestling is there. The ground and pound. I mean, I think his hardest fight was on the Contender Series. I think it was Wes Schultz. I think if I'm not mistaken, he gave him a hard go because he attempted 1,000,000 takedowns and is super tricky on the mat, and it really tested Abdul-Malik. But I think Malik finishes Tricoli pretty damn easy, and I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. If you just play, I just want to know like a free square of the week. Yeah, I think it's Abdul-Malik, 100%. I really do. It's just you're going to have to pay for it and then figure out the rest of your lineups. And then that means you're probably avoiding one title fight, which is a little scary, or avoiding one title fight favorite, which is a little scary. So best of luck to you. But I don't think Tricoli's got anything for Abdul-Malik here. It'll be one-way traffic.
Yeah, I think this will be the last time we see Tricoli in the UFC. But yeah, to me, it just comes down to a roster construction aspect. And on the betting side of it, not really much you love there, unless somehow you think Tricoli can survive 15 minutes and maybe you want to go to the plus 750 of Malik to win by decision. But I just don't see that happening. I think he's going to win.
6,400 is cheap.
Yes, it is.
Can you imagine if he can get 30, 40 points somehow?
Yeah,
I don't see it. I don't think he lasts 30 or 40 seconds, to be honest.
Or he might get 3.
Yeah. I mean, but just saying, 6,400 is ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Their opening matchup of the night, it features a fighter who did miss weight. Santos missing weight by 1.5 pounds. Fight would go forward. He is fined 20% of his purse, taking on Naimov. Naimov, price at $7,100 DK, $8 on FanDuel, plus 220 betting underdog. Santos, price at $9,100 on DK, $20 on FanDuel. He is a minus 275 betting favorite. Of course, he is the Tough 32 featherweight winner. Trains at the Fighting Nerds team. Naimov on the other side, 5-1 in the UFC, Pete.
I get this guy confused with this other guy. I got to figure out who the hell I get. I think it's Myron Santos. I'll come back to you, but I get him confused with, I say it every time. I get him confused with, I'll have to figure it out. But Santos is good, right? Like his striking is pretty damn good. I'm pretty sure that the weight miss is strategic. And Naimov, he can strike, but not to the degree that Santos can. I mean, the strike ratio between the two is 1.48 for Myron Santos, 0.75 for Naimov. I mean, that's double. That means that Santos, should be able to pick apart Naimov. Yes, Naimov has some power, but typically he's throwing enough to pin you against the cage, to attempt some takedowns. And Santos, if he gets taken down, is definitely not the same fighter. But I don't know. I don't view Naimov as that type of guy, especially with the weight miss. I think that Santos be able to keep the fight upright. Hopefully there's no injury. Hopefully there's no sickness. But yeah, I view Santos as a nice little parlay piece. I kind of view him similar to like Maycee Barber, where like I really like listen to this. Remember how I was talking about striking ratio? The striking ratio of Maycee Barber is 1.62 and Karine Silva is 0.94. That's the same type of shit I'm talking about here with the Myron Santos and Muhammad Naimov. Just like Farazim's strike ratio is 1.75 to Sadykhov's 0.94. So, like, personally, Santos, Barber, Ziem, that sounds like a parlay for me, and that's probably what I'll do for betting. But yeah, I'm picking Myron Santos here.
And maybe people get scared off by the missing weight, and maybe you get a little bit of value in terms of a little bit less ownership in terms of that one. Let's get into straight up fight picks before we get into some listener questions here. Main event, give me Merab.
Merab for me.
I will go Pantoja.
Pantoja.
Give me Tatsuro Taira.
Yep, same Tatsuro Taira.
I will go Talbott. Don't feel great about it, though.
I like it. I'm going Talbott.
I'm worried about him just getting wrestle left.
Yeah.
Give me Guskov. So that'd be underdog number one for me.
Yep.
I'll go Grant. I just I don't know about the takedown abilities of Torres to stop it.
I'm gonna go Grant Dawson as well.
I'll go underdog number 2, even though he might ultimately be the favorite in this one, McKinney.
Yeah, I'm having the hardest time, but I still am going to pick Chris Duncan.
Barber. I'll go underdog number 3 in Sadykhov.
Okay, I'm going Farziem.
Give me underdog number 4 in Bruno.
I'm going to go Bruno.
I will go Turner. Baraniewski. Abdul-Malik. And I will go Santos
as well.
Appreciate the 2 super chats that have come in. First off, highest leverage plays in each salary tier. Haven't seen ownership, so this is going to really be kind of a difficult thing for me to put in here. I mean, look, in a 9,000 range, I would expect Dvalishvili and Pantoja to be very highly owned. The leverage very well could be Payton Talbott in that 9,000 range. Abdul-Malik, I mean, it's good. We'll see where the ownership ultimately ends up being in terms of that one. In the 8,000 range, I think Tatsuro Taira could be a leverage play just because of 3-round fight where the price point is in terms. Maybe Duncan could be a leverage spot. You know, more people trying to get to Terrance McKinney in that spot. In the 7K range, look, I think there's some good pump plays in the 7K range. Torres, Cejudo, Van. I think those are all people I like in the 7K range.
Yeah, I think for me, the 9,000 leverage play would be Santos, right? Like, I don't think many people think that he's capable of getting a finish. The leverage play in the 8,000 would probably be like a Maycee Barber for me. You know, like, it's a women's MMA, not going to have all that much ownership. She's kind of mid-priced. Will she pay off more? You know, like, will she just have an average score? Will she have a boom score? And then the 7,000, what do I do there? You went there. I'd probably say Torres, because I could see Dawson's takedowns and control being like really, really popular.
Next up, highest value at each salary range. I mean, in terms of value, I mean, like, look, in the 9,000 range, man, Merab just has a chance to go out there and get 160. I mean, let's be, I mean, that could be an absolutely huge score. Looking at 8,000 range, I mean, Grant Dawson, because that takedown upside is really going to stick out to you. In the 7,000 range, I think McKinney, just because if he goes that takedown route, he could rack up some points plus a first round finish there. In the 6,000 range, I mean, like, you made a great point beginning of the show. Jan, just because that salary range could bring you something.
Yeah, I think that Jan at that salary is just how I'm going to do it. I'm going to stack that fight. I just think it makes a ton of sense. It opens everything up. Do you know who the hell I'm talking about? About the guy? He trains with Yanez. Adrian Yanez. I get him confused with Myron Santos all the time. I know, I just came to me. Cameron Smotherman. I don't know why. Those two, in my mind, I cannot like separate. It's like the hardest thing for me.
Just going to mention one note from Discord, and the rest of the Discord questions we'll answer actually in Discord. The Road to the Man series from Sam, 6.5. Sam, I think your number's too low.
Yeah, it's got to be like.
I mean, it's 14 fights.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's not a bad number. I can see some decisions, but I would probably set it at 7.5.
No doubt about it. Of course, if you do got any questions, you can hit those up right there in the YouTube chat, or you can just throw it right in our Discord channel. Of course, Pete's got his Patreon page. We'll have the DraftKings contest up, so be sure to check out that. So as always, appreciate everyone who tunes in for every episode of Fight HQ. We'll be back next week for the final episode of 2025 as we get you ready for the final UFC garage fighting at the Apex. It will be Manuel Kopp and Brandon Royval. Warehouse fighting, baby. That's what it is.
Yeah. Hey, that's right. I mean, we could put those types of fights on in my gym too. So it's like, it's just a warehouse, right? So
it's exactly what it is. So that's going to do it for this episode. We will talk to you next week.